has been there. Why now?
I think
is it connected perhaps with the recent, some have called them non-elections in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or a selection of elections?
I think, for me personally, I think it's laughable for a president to be calling one of his generals to the arrest of one of his generals. I think that's laughable, because Bosco Ntaganda is not the ordinary kind of guy. They know where he lives. They know the kind of troops or the kind of power that he has. So what is important, really, I think the government should go ahead and arrest him, rather than suggesting or telling people that they're calling for his arrest. It's just laughable.
Paul, you know Bosco Ntaganda?
Absolutely.
Personally?
Yes, sir.
You were once on the ground in the neighborhood where Bosco and Rubanga operated. What kind of person is he? What makes him tick?
He's a very, very charming guy, very likable, and I think that's why he has been able to work for pretty much every single rebel group that has operated in Eastern Congo. More recently, even working under the leadership of President Joseph Kabila. So he carries himself, he's a very flamboyant guy, he's a showy guy, he likes to, you know, carry himself like the guy who has everything. And the one thing that, from my interactions with them at the time they were young junior officers in the ranks, but he's the kind of guy who knew what he wanted. So he was ready to go after what he wanted. And I'm not surprised that he has risen through the ranks to the extent that he's being wanted by the International Criminal Court.
What about reports that he and his colleague Thomas Rubanga actually used to get support from Rwanda and at another point from Uganda? Any truth in those reports?
There is no question. Absolutely. They were all supported by two governments, the Ugandan government and the Rwandan government. When you look back, these governments were pitting these rebels against each other. They created a sort of a class divide and rule kind of style to be able to take control of the mineral-rich eastern part of Congo. So basically, their support, for me, that's why I've always said that rather than going after the small guys, they should follow the money. They should go after the guys who are really supporting these guys. Because Congo has, the UN had an embargo on Congo. For all these years, there's been an embargo. But does it surprise you that these guys continue to get arms?
Is it true that Bosco and Thomas belonged to the Hema group, and they were fighting against another group called the Lendu?
Yes. Maybe let me give you a little bit of history between the two groups. The Lendu are traditional agriculturists, subsistence farmers who live in Eastern Congo.
Like the Hutu in neighboring Rwanda?
Absolutely. Then actually the Lendu are more connected to the Alu in northwestern Uganda. Because they're closer to the Ugandan border than they are to Rwanda.
But in terms of the mode of production?
Yes, they're subsistence farmers. They live largely on subsistence farming, whereas the Hema are traditionally pastoralists, cattle keepers. So when you look back into history, these guys immigrated from different parts of East and Central Africa and moved to Congo in search of pasture to graze their cows. So when they reached there, they started fighting over small pieces of land, and that's where the conflict started. The conflict did not start in the 90s or in the 2000s when these guys were heavily involved in the killing, but the conflict goes back even 100 years before colonialism.